Hello everyone! The three strategies that I decided to learn more about were the SQ3R strategy, the reciprocal teaching strategy, and the anticipation guide strategy. To begin with, the SQ3R strategy is an acronym that stands for 5 steps you should use when reading something you want to remember. These 5 steps include 1. Survey, 2. Question, 3. Read, 4. Recall, and 5. Review. In the survey section of SQ3R, you encourage students to start by skimming the material to decide if what they identify will be useful to get an overview of the topic. Step 2, you encourage students a question to write down any questions that they might have about the subject. These could be the questions that led them to read it in the first place, ones that they thought of during the survey. Step 3 is read. Now they're encouraged to, after they've surveyed and questioned, to read the actual document one section at a time, making note of what things they don't understand. Step 4 is to recall. Once they've read the appropriate sections of the document, they run through it in their mind several times to identify important points, to work out how the information fits around those important points. The 5th step is to review. Once they recall the information, they can start to review it. They can go back over their notes and it can help them with some comprehension. There are some benefits to SQ3R. This may be used for reading assignments in most academic disciplines like social sciences, physical sciences, and arts and humanities. It can also be used with many different reading materials, textbooks, journal articles, etc. And a third benefit is that it is simple and straightforward. There are also some limitations to SQ3R. One is that it's not particularly useful for math and statistic contexts. Another is that it is kind of an isolated strategy. It doesn't incorporate additional, a broad range of strategies for students to use. And 3, it works well for average students, but research has demonstrated that it's not an effective strategy for improving literal comprehension for ELL students. The next strategy that I wanted to talk about is reciprocal teaching. Reciprocal teaching is a strategy to teach reading where the teacher and students share responsibility for interpreting the material. The students and the teacher go through 4 steps of summarizing, question generating, clarifying, and predicting. Reciprocal teaching is a research-based strategy with a growing body of studies cementing its foundation. So I'm just going to give you a little bit more overview of that. In the predicting, when you ask students to do that, you preview a text with students. This is something that a teacher does along with the students. You teach them how, through example and modeling. You preview the text to build background knowledge and relate to prior learning and determine reading rate. You can use prompts such as I think, I wonder, I suppose, I predict. The second part is question. You're asking questions about the content, purpose, and structure. So some of the prompts that you would use with students are who, what, when, where, how, why, and what if. Next, clarify. You would be monitoring understanding by identifying problems and using fix-up strategies. Some of the prompts you might use in this section are, I need to reread, what do I already know, how does this connect with, in my mind I picture. And last is the summarize section. You encourage students to recall important details and arrange them in order. Some of the prompts you might use for this are, this is about, the most important ideas were, in summary, this is what I know so far, in conclusion, things like that. So like I mentioned before, reciprocal teaching has some, one of the benefits is research shows a strong basis for but there's higher reading comprehension when teachers use reciprocal reading teaching. A second benefit is students learn to work more independently with fewer disruptive student behaviors. And a third benefit is that there's good communication and collaboration between the teacher and the students. Some limitations are that, number 1, it requires more preparation time to implement and practice to implement it successfully. A second limitation is that it requires more actual classroom time than traditional methods. And a third limitation is that there's a possibility that students are providing incorrect feedback to other students during collaborative groups without the teacher being aware. The last one I wanted to share is, I think, my favorite. It's anticipation guides. And I got this information from Reading Rockets. An anticipation guide is a comprehension strategy that is used before reading to activate students' prior knowledge and build curiosity about a new topic. Before reading, students listen to or read several statements about key concepts presented in the text. They're often structured as a series of statements with which the students can choose to agree or disagree. Anticipation guides stimulate students' interest in a topic and set a purpose for reading. So the first step in being able to use an anticipation guide with students is that a teacher needs to construct one. It could be simple for younger students. It could be more complex for older students. You just write 4 to 6 statements about key ideas in the text. Some can be true and some false. And then you can include columns following each statement, which can be left blank, that students can fill in later after they discover the information in the text, if they were right or wrong. Next, the teacher models the process for students so they know what is expected. After you read each of the statements, you ask the students if they agree or disagree with it, and you provide opportunities for discussion. Next, you read the actual text aloud that they've been making predictions about, and or you can have them read it individually, and then if you're reading out loud, you would stop periodically and ask the students, does this match up with what you answered in the anticipation guide? There's some benefits to the anticipation guides. They can be easily differentiated for ELL students. Some of this differentiation can be done using that you can have anticipation guides completed orally if you want, and also it recommends that you use simple sentences so that your ELL students can focus on the content rather than understanding the sentences. It's very engaging for students is another benefit. It gives them a reason to pay attention because they're looking for were they right or wrong about their guesses. And a third benefit is a teacher creates the guide and therefore has control over what she wants the students to be looking for and thinking about. A couple limitations. Teachers must take time to create anticipation guides. A second limitation is additional time will be required to create differentiated anticipation guides. And I really couldn't come up with a third because I really like this particular strategy. So I look forward to hearing the strategies that you chose and to discuss limitations.